Okay, this video I'm doing today is to show how I set up the Kenwood D710s for LOTOJA and other bike races. Um, there are quite a few functions, so you need to kind of make sure they're all correct. Some of the stuff looking at the screen you can see that should be happening is the GPS light should be flashing. If you have the new G model, this should say iGPS, because if it doesn't say iGPS on the newer models, it's looking for an external GPS, not the built-in one, and it probably won't work. The beacon should be on, so that you're sending out beacons. If that's not on, it'll never send an APRS beacon out. Also, it should be on APRS 12. Not any other settings, or else APRS won't work. Changing the TNC to the different models, you can turn it here. Pushing the TNC button will be changed to APRS 12, to packet, which we don't want, or nothing, which we don't want. We want it on APRS 12. Pushing the key button at the bottom changes the function buttons on there. So you can turn the beacon on or off here. If you do need to, turn it off for some reason, which is kind of a good thing to know, because if net control wants to know where you are right then, if you turn the beacon off and then back on, it will transmit right away if you have GPS lock and sends out your position right away. So it's a good way for send net control where your position is, but it's not necessary to know that. It's just nice to know. So push to talk button, little icon, should be on the right hand side, which is where you're talking on the voice, not on the left hand side. You could change that by pushing these buttons here. If it goes over here, you're talking on the APRS channel. Nobody will probably hear you. So always make sure push to talk is on the right hand side. Also on the APRS side, make sure your squelch is up far enough. Right now you see a busy light and no traffic going across. That means your squelch is too low. If you're hearing stuff like you see the line moving, that's fine. But if you're constantly seeing that busy light, your squelch is too low. So turn it up and just past where it goes off. Should be fine. So that's some of the basic stuff I think on the main screen. A lot of the ones borrowed from the club will be locked by default. So the only thing you can do is change channels, and the only way you can do that is on the microphone, pushing the up and down buttons. So make sure if it's locked, you know that's how it's done. If it gets unlocked, it's always a good thing to have it locked back up unless you know what you're doing. Pressing and holding that button will unlock it. Press and hold the F button, locks it back up. So now we'll go into the programming part. You can see all kinds of traffic coming across on APRS, and if you watch it, it may have some good information for you, but a lot of times we're paying attention to something else, not looking at radio. So pushing the F button and the channel change button, we go into APRS. Programming mode, the only one we're going to worry about is the APRS. Push it again. Basic settings, menu number 600. This is where I program your position in there, so it shows up on the map. For LOTOJA, this is LY13, which is LOTOJA yellow 13, and so we can see you show up on the map with that on your icon. So change that one, you would hit enter key, you go to that line, enter again, and you can change it. Scroll with the keys on the bottom, hit the enter key again when you're done, and you're out of there. Hit the back button, and you're back to where you can change to the next setting. 601 default should be fine. 602 GPS port. Most of these should be set for 4800 baud, although I've heard on the newer D710G models 9600 baud works good too. So for the most part I would say 4800 baud unless you know that the other ones work. Waypoint, leave it as it is. COM port can be off. We're not using data on this one. This one should be on if you was helping with the BARC 100 or hooked to a computer somehow, some way to send data. 605, leave this one alone. These are static positions, so if you weren't moving, you were staying in one place, you didn't have a GPS, you can manually put your stuff in here. But basically, for what we're doing, leave this one alone. Beacon information. Speed and altitude, have them on. That's good information to know. Position ambiguity, leave it off. We do not want that on. If that is on, you could appear anywhere on the map. Maybe not even on the map. So make sure position ambiguity is off. Position comment. In service is good. You can change that one if you want. Pushing the enter button, you can scroll through all the different ones, but in service is good. Status text, this is where you put your call sign in if you don't have it in the call sign text. For me, I put LOTOJA support and the call sign, this one here being for KF7LQX. So you can change that one by getting there, scrolling the keys and changing it if you need to. Hitting enter again, you're out. The next one you do, go down to TX rate. It's set for 1/2, which should send out your status text with your call sign on it every other beacon you send out. Probably good. This should be at least every 6 minutes. You should be able to see your call sign, so you're legally ID'd. You can set it probably for 1/3 and be in there, but you're better off probably setting for that for 1/2. When you're done with that one, go back, and here it says use. If there's not an asterisk right here, that's not the one you're going to be using. So go to the push the use button, the asterisk will show up. I'll show you here. We'll go to status text 2 and we hit use. Status text 2 is now being used, which we don't want for this one, but that shows you. So I go back to status text 1, I hit use. That is the one I'm using because it's got the asterisk by it. I have quite a few of these set up for multiple events. By changing through the status text to the different ones, I can quickly and easily change call signs. So like I said, make sure you put your call sign in the status text. The TX rate should be 1/2, and make sure you've pushed the use button so you get the asterisk. Packet filter, you can use the default. Station icon, you can change this to whatever you want, but preferably probably a truck, a car, or a van for our event, but you can make it what they want. I was noticing yesterday in an event we were helping with, they'd use the medical cross, and when you're looking on APRS.FI, the medical cross doesn't really show you a direction, but if you're using a car or whatever, the car will be going the direction it's supposed to be. So anyway, that's not a big deal, but preferably the car, truck, or the van on this one. Beacon algorithm, we want smart beaconing on. 3 minutes, all these defaults are great. Packet path, we want wide 1 on, and total hops 2 should be sufficient for LOTOJA. So your path would be wide -1-1, wide 2-1. I'll give you 2 hops, which should be sufficient for all the digipeaters we set up. 613 default voice alert off, weather station off, digipete off, UI check, UI digi, UI flood, UI trace, user phrases can all be default. Auto reply message, you can turn this on if you want and put a message in there, but messaging doesn't really get used a whole lot during LOTOJA, so it doesn't do a lot of good. Group filtering default. Sound, I like it set up so that I hear that my beacons are getting out. It'll beep saying it was transmitted, it will beep saying it was heard. You get a single beep for a transmit, a double beep when you get heard. So it's a good thing to know that you're working out. Some people, it kind of gets irritating hearing all them beeps, but you know your station's working good if you're hearing the beeps. Interrupt display. When I first started the video, seeing half the display was coming up with people's call signs and a little information about it. You could change that to full display. You get a lot more information. It shows you a little compass, shows you which direction people are from you and how far and stuff. The half display doesn't show that, but usually in LOTOJA we're not paying attention to the display anyway. Display units, default's great. 2, default's great. This one, the default. Smart beaconing 1. Sorry about that. Smart beaconing 1. Low speed is 5 miles per hour. High speed is 70 miles per hour. They're defaults. But the slow rate, the default is every 30 minutes. There's a chance that we're not going to be going the high rate of speed, and default 30 minutes is not going to get our beacons out there often enough. Change your slow rate to every 3 minutes. Fast rate is every 120 seconds, which is every 2 minutes. So very unlikely we're going to get above 70, but there's some good things to know. So please set slow rate to 3 minutes. You could even do 4 minutes, but don't leave it at the default of 30 minutes. We probably won't see you often enough as net control. Smart beaconing 2 can be default, and we're back to the basic settings where we put in our call sign, which is our position for this application. When you're done programming, escape, get you back out to the main screen. So once again, pressing the key button changes the menu buttons at the bottom. We want to make sure the GPS light is flashing, especially if you have an external GPS like the older ones. It should just say GPS. If you got a new D7G, it should say iGPS. The beacon should be on. APRS 12 should show up here. And the busy light should not show up except when it's hearing packets. If the busy light is constantly on, you're not getting packets out because it's waiting to transmit. It won't transmit unless it hears a clear channel. So if there's any other questions, feel free to ask. There's quite a few of us in the club that have some expertise in these, and we can help you out any way needed. Good luck.